This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you courtesy of Michelob Ultra Beer.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome, everyone, to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's hope that something in today's show gives you some ideas that will make you a little bit better at whatever it is that you do. What's Working is the show designed to bring you the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace trends shaping the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace around you with a focus on Alabama business. Again, thank you for joining in. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed in the Culverhouse College of Business, all housed at the University of Alabama. Several years ago, through some series of events, I was introduced to Lane Zirlott. Lane runs Murder Point Oyster Company. It's a family business. His mother and father are still involved. He's got a sister involved that I know of, but he seems to be the one running the show. And I interviewed him in my office, and he was in his car somewhere. He had pulled over to take the interview. And he was, and you're going to hear me say this a lot today, one of the most charismatic people I had ever heard and ever met, and it came through loud and clear in that interview, and I instantly liked him. Everybody else does. The people that meet Lane and spend time around him are immediately, charmed by this guy's charisma and his integrity. It seems to come out in the things that he says and that he does. And every now and then, particularly towards the end of the year, I like to go back to some of the guests that have really moved me over the years and just check in with them. Usually on these check-in shows, we give each guest about 10 minutes to give us an update. I'm giving Lane a full episode because I have a sense that things are going very well for Lane. Since meeting Lane on the air, I've visited his oyster farm in Bayou La Batre, Alabama. He's shown me around a little bit where the oyster seed is created, this area where they create their own oysters and create the next generation of oysters, let's say. Looked at the reefs that he has set up and how they raise and lower the oysters during the day and throughout the year to get them the right taste and the right salinity. It's extraordinary how these things are created to get the flavor profile that's so unique to the Murder Point product. When we come back from break, I'll be catching up with Lane. He'll be in the studio with me this time, not speaking from his truck and me in my office, but together in the studio talking about the remarkable trajectory of Murder Point oysters. It is a delicious product, folks. If you're not in Southwest Alabama, find them. You can find them at murderpointoysters.com. and get you some because it is a good product with a good story to tell. So when we come back, I'll be in the studio with Lane. Can't wait. And by the way, I told Lane, hey, if you're coming to the studio, would you mind bringing me 100 of those things? I'll make an event out of them this weekend. And he did. He will. He's said he'd do it, and I'll pay him for them and take those home with me. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed in the Culverhouse College of Business, all housed at the University of Alabama. I got a list that I made for myself of things to mention before the break. Number one, if you want a sample of my book called What Works, which is the 10 best ideas from the first 200 episodes, go to what'sworkingcam.com, go to cammarston.com, find the place to sign up. You'll get a emailed first chapter of the book. You can see what it's like and if it's something that you want. And it'll come automatically. You can find me on social media, Cam Marston. You'll find me often as Cam Marston in the numeral 1, Facebook, Instagram, all those different places, and reach out. Cam at cammarston.com. We always love to hear from you, hear what you like about the shows, hear things, ideas that you have. I don't want to be a stranger. Let me know what you think. Let me know about the shows. Cam at cammarston.com, or go to my website where we have an interactive place for you to reach out. When we come back, Lane Zirlott, you're listening to What's Working.
When making the largest investment choice in most families' financial portfolio, you need a realtor who truly understands the market and can negotiate favorable terms and conditions. I'm Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the preferred real estate advisor for buying or selling along the Gulf Coast. For full access to the MLS in Mobile, Baldwin County, Pensacola, Destin, or Panama City, just Google Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed in the Culver House College of Business, all housed in the University of Alabama. In the studio today, Lane Zirlott, Murder Point Oysters. If there was a celebrity in our part of the country, it's this man right here. Murder Point is known all over the place. The name itself is sexy, and the oysters are good. In my first meeting earlier today, I said I was coming to interview Lane, and it stopped conversation, and everybody said, I'd love to meet that guy. Lane, welcome back to What's Working.
What's up, Bob?
I'm glad to have you. You were one of my favorite stories. I want to say it's about 4, maybe 5 years ago now when you and I first met, and your oysters have since exploded. That's my impression of things. Everybody knows about them. Everybody raves about them. When you and I first met, you were spending a lot of time on the farm with these seeds, with these oysters. How many, let's say it was 4 or 5 years ago, how many oysters were you guys growing at that time?
I want to think we was right around 6 million.
6 million?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
And what is that, a year?
Yes.
6 million a year, and what is it today?
We've got 30 million in the water right now.
30 million oysters.
Yes, that can be a fake news kind of number, so to speak. So we do actually have 30 million in the water now. How many do I get to market? That's going to be the question.
And what determines that?
Well, different factors. So, in the springtime, we always get a ton of rain, and it's not necessarily rain down here on the coast that affects us. It's the rain they're getting in Tennessee, the rain they're getting in North Alabama, and them parts of the country. It all runs down the river, ends up down here, in the Mississippi Sound, and it kind of backs up in Sandy Bay. So last year, we had tons of rain north of us, come down, back up. We left to go to Miami Food and Wine Show in February, thinking, man, we're going to have so many oysters when we come back. We got back, man, and it just, it got fresh, everything quit growing, and then eventually things started dying. So we lost 6 million oysters last year from March to June just because of the rain. So different factors. You got predators, you got some different things. Sometimes you mishandle them and some very small percentage die. And then it's just an oyster. So an oyster, just by nature, when it reproduces in the wild, it puts out millions and millions of seed just because, statistically, they're not going to make it. So sometimes you just have natural occurrences that just wipe them out. So
with 30 million in the water right now, are you hoping to get 50% of those to market?
Going like crazy to get 75, but
is that reasonable to think 75?
Yeah, 25% mortality rate's pretty common amongst the industry. So I think last year was just a freak. I hope it's just a freak occurrence.
Was it June that we had rain every day around here for like 30 straight days?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's not the rain here. That's the problem.
Even so, I was going to ask, is the rain here, it doesn't impact your oysters?
Not really, because it runs off pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's the rain up north that runs down, and then it kind of just builds up down here. So, yes, the rain here, when it's coming down, it can't run off as fast. But, when it gets just a tremendous amount coming down these rivers, when Barry Steam Plant starts, measuring about 8 foot, it's you got to start looking out.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything you can do to the oyster to keep it alive? Do you raise it in the water table? Is the salinity higher or lower in the water table?
Man, I could tell you, but, so what we've done, I went to New Orleans. I went out to some places where there are oysters, and we got oysters out of the wild. And the thing about these oysters is they have a natural salinity swing because they're so close to the river, right? So if you're there living and it's your genetics to be able to handle these kind of swings,
yeah.
So we went and got those oysters. And because I have a hatchery, we started breeding those oysters, and we started creating our own line of broodstock that has this ability to handle these swings.
Yeah.
Now, will it sustain a long period of swing? I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to give us a better shot at different things. And if you got an animal that's conditioned, it's been raised to do that, he's going to do it. So that's what we've done. We've not necessarily changed our mechanics of what we're doing, but we went back even further than that, went into the hatchery, and we're trying to change the lineage of the oysters that we're using.
How do you know how to do this, Lane? I mean, how do you do? I do remember in our first interview, you told me you play loo rolls in the background when the oysters are starting to go to seed because it helps them. It's a little sexy music, and the oysters kind of limber up a little bit. How do you know how to do this? And where did the idea of let's go to New Orleans and get some seed from New Orleans come from?
It just makes sense when you're trying to figure out a problem, what's causing the problem. And then, certainly I can't add salt to the water. So that's not the answer. So is this the only place that this occurs? No, certainly not. So where's the other places this occurs? Well, big rivers.
Yeah.
Where's the biggest river in the country? It's the Mississippi.
Right.
Hey, you know what? Louisiana has tons of oysters. Kind of makes sense. Hey, they're surviving, right? And what happens when you use farm oysters? We're using broodstock from a university here in town. They're creating stuff to go. So I think what happened is stuff just got brought in from Florida, different areas that have a higher salinity content and a more steady salinity content than we do. And just them trying to create an oyster and create a oyster for looks and the hinge being perfect and deep cup, it kind of got away of some of the homegrown lineage in the oyster. So we went back and tried to just go back to the basics and start fresh and try to rebuild this thing from scratch and bring in some oysters from different places that have these typical salinity swings.
Yeah. When you and I talked the first time, you were talking about trying to get distribution in some of the finer restaurants, the more notable, let's say, culinary cities across. You told me you were going into Charleston for a period of time. You were going into New Orleans for a period of time. What's distribution on your oysters been like since you and I last talked, let's say, 4 years ago?
Well, man, Texas has come on really, really big for us. So, we went, I went and I spent a week, flew out to Houston, rented a car, which is a major thing to do nowadays. I don't know if you've rented a car, but you get a car, you're a lucky man. Rented a car in Houston, spent 2 days in Houston, drove to Austin, spent a day in Austin, drove to Dallas, spent 2 days in Dallas, drove up to Oklahoma City.
No kidding.
And each stop, man, I just went in and just kind of did my thing and walked in the back door and talked to chefs. And so, the unique thing, and I kind of knew it, but it just really dawned on me and just made it that much more, made me realize it that much more is you go to these restaurants and you're thinking you're in Texas, and you are, but the chefs ain't. The chefs are transplant. And so what I ran into out there was, we only use East Coast oysters. We only use, nothing south of Maine. And so I wouldn't even tell them it's a southern oyster. Wouldn't tell them what it was. Hey, man, I've got a great oyster. Will you try it? And then after they told me, hey, man, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. Where's it from? Alabama. No, not Alabama. And so, so it was just a different approach. You had to have a different mindset, but basically the same thing. Get the product in front of somebody and get them to try it. So that was, Texas has really come on for us. And so what's unique about Texas is you get to Houston, you get to Dallas, Austin, not as much, but in the same sense, these cities have their own economy. So they're not affected by the outside national economy as much. So, when you go into Dallas and you see the cranes everywhere and they're still putting new cement down and asphalt on the street. I mean, these guys are going forward. These are the places you want to be. And so that's what we kind of just took to target, the mindset to target the areas that almost have an independent economy in their city.
Yeah. How many oysters are you selling locally? Let's say in Southwest Alabama. I know you got a facility over in Orange Beach. You can sell from your facility in Bayou La Batre versus outside of Southwest Alabama. Is it 50-50?
No. 99% of my oysters probably go outside of the state.
Outside of the state? No kidding.
Yeah. Now, they are a lot. I would say 75% of them stay in the southeast. But, I use Evans Meats as one of my big distributors, and them boys are everywhere in the southeast. They're pushing stuff. There might be more than that in Alabama, but a lot of us, Birmingham, that area. Down here, not a whole bunch down here, but it's coming on. So now you got restaurants like Hope Farm. You got Jesse's. You've got different little restaurants that are on that white tablecloth end of things starting to pop up. So it's starting to create more market down here.
So I find that shocking that as I wait in line at your place in Bayou La Batre to get through the door to get your oysters, you guys are so popular, yet less than, what did you say, 1% is sold in those stores?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, because we're just pushing so many out the back door.
I had no idea, Lane.
Yeah.
This has become extraordinary. So this was a family business. Let's tell that story. This is a family business. And if I recall correctly, your mother saw something about oyster farming and no one was signed up. And she said, you need to go. And you've never set foot on a shrimp boat since. That's the story that I was told. Is that still true?
It's still true. Yeah. So Mom worked for a local organization down in town in Bayou La Batre that worked with commercial fishermen. So if you was a commercial shrimper, if you was a commercial oysterman, crabber, they worked with them. Auburn come to town, wanted to do an aquaculture class, and so they went to this organization to reach the commercial people. Nobody signed up, not really. Mom and Dad signed up. They loved it. Said, "Hey, come do it." And like I said, it's just never looked back.
You're fifth generation shrimper.
Yes.
And you've gone have you gone to the dark side from the shrimper's point of view?
Nah, not at all. I still got family that does it. Still have contacts, friends, and stuff. Nah, not at all.
When we come back from break, I want to hear about this event that you're hosting on November the 19th. Experience the Oyster and the chefs that you're bringing in. This is something that I think when you and I spoke, I should have looked. I think it was 4 years ago. Probably wasn't on the radar. Now you're selling tickets for people to come back and not come back. Come see what you got going on. So we'll discuss that when you get back from the break. I'm in the studio today. Lane Zirlott, one of the local celebrities around here, and from what I just learned, perhaps even a southeastern celebrity, Murder Point Oyster Companies. He's brought me a bunch that I've bought from him that I'll begin eating this weekend. You're listening to What's Working. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, Culver House College of Business, University of Alabama. We'll be right back. I'd like you to meet my new sponsor, Get the Tea. They carry all natural, non-GMO, organic herbal cleansing teas and supplements. They source their ingredients from the purest available. Your health is an investment that's worthwhile, so why wait? I drink their tea each and every day to help keep my digestive system in check. I'm drinking a glass as I record this right now. It comes in 3 flavors, natural, peppermint, and pomegranate. I'm drinking the peppermint. All of their products are made right here in the USA. Go to getthetea.com and enter code CAM5, that's CAM5, to receive $5 off your first order. That's getthetea.com, code CAM5. Do you have an industrial or commercial construction project you're ready to make a reality? Person Services Corp is a diverse specialty contractor capable of tackling complex projects. They've won awards from Engineering News Record and the Association of General Contractors. If you're looking for a turnkey project management solution, advanced technologies, and skilled personnel you can trust, look no further than Persons Services Corp. Find out more at personsservices.com. In the studio today, Lane Zirlott sitting across from me. He is, Lane, what's your title? You boss, CEO, chef, producer? What's your title at Murder Point?
The hey guy.
He's the head guy at Murder Point.
Hey guy. Come do this. Hey guy, come do this.
At the Murder Point Oyster Company, based in Bayou La Batre. They got a retail facility over in at the wharf in Orange Beach. Distribution, I just learned, all over the Southeast. Extraordinary distribution all over the Southeast, and it's just a wonderful story. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culver House College of Business, University of Alabama. Lane, November the 19th is the event that you're hosting called Experience the Oyster. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So, just wanted to get the word out about what's going on in the southern oyster industry. I wanted to highlight some guys. It is a local event, so we're bringing in some of the local Alabama guys, but I've reached out to some guys I know. I've got a guy coming in from Florida, Pelican Oyster Company, Salty Boat. birds. Hey, man, something special right there. Got a guy coming in from South Carolina, low country. Hey, he's got them low country cups. His little oysters are cupped up. Really, really salty, good thing. Hey, North Carolina's coming in, Crystal Coast. Them boys, young guys, they're doing something special. And even went ahead and got a guy up out of Virginia. So you really got that, southern East Coast on around to us picture of what's going on in the oyster industry. And like I said, of course, local guys. Hey, you got Admiral shellfish coming in, pointed pins coming in, turtlebacks. All your local favorites are going to be there. So, and then the chefs, man. Wow, the chefs. Because hey, I've always ate good, man. Mama can cook, Granny can cook. I'm a Southern boy. Hey, food's been good. But man, when I got into the oyster industry and I started going to these restaurants, and we targeted the white tablecloth restaurants. So you go to these chefs that are James Beard awarded and nominated, and these Michelin 5-star chefs, and man, they're happy to come and they want to impress you. So they send out all their appetizers and the best stuff on the menu. And man, it just blew my mind, the level of food that's out there, man. It's another level of food. And man, I've been everywhere just about now. There ain't no food like the food in the South, man. And Southern food's more than grits. I'm going to tell you that. It's more than grits. Hey, now there ain't nothing wrong with a bowl of grits. And if you go to Fisher's, you go tell him you want that butter love special, and he's going to bring you a bowl of yellow roundstone grits, 3 big U12 scallops, and a little bit of caviar on each one of them. And that's that butter love special. But anyway, the food in the South is amazing. And so, man, we wanted to bring in some of these chefs. So I got chefs flying in, a guy coming in from Houston, Bobby Mattis at State of Grace, high-end restaurant in Houston, man, off the charts. He's coming in. He's going to do his thing. Got some cats coming out of Birmingham. Got cats coming out of Pensacola, Irv Miller. Got guys coming out of 30A. Have you been to 30A lately?
Yeah.
30A is crazy.
It's crazy.
Man, there's Ferraris and Range Rover. It's like a mini Miami all of a sudden.
Yeah.
They're selling murder points down there at the old Florida Fish House, $80 a dozen. Check this out. They're taking gold leaf, sprinkling gold leaf on a dozen oysters, and putting a little bit of, like 1 or 2 little top-end balls of caviar on each oyster, and $80 a dozen. It's crazy.
Are you laughing at that?
It's crazy. No, I'm crying because I ain't getting none of that money.
But you've got to say $80 for a dozen of oysters. And from what I remember you telling me, Lane, when we were last on the phone, the way you eat it is with a drop of lemon.
Yeah, man, just a little drop of lemon. That's it.
That's it. And they're sprinkling gold leaf and caviar on it.
It's crazy. So anyway, what we wanted to do was just shine a light on everybody, man, and say, hey, this is what's going on in the South, man. This is what's going on. And so, hey, this is the best cooks in the region. This is some of the better oyster farms in the region. Let's get them all in one place, and let's let everybody find out what's going on. And hey, if you love oysters, you can go and find another oyster that might be your favorite. Hey, they're all got so unique. It's like wine. You got different regions produce a different taste. So you bring these guys in and you find what fits your palate. And then you go next door to where my chefs are and you taste what they're. Hey, I got a chef right now. I sent him his oysters yesterday. He's going to smoke them. He's making a house-made cracker, and he's going to blend them with some vignette and it's all. He says it's going to be like a BLT, but he's using oysters and crackers.
Oh my Lord! Lane.
I've got a guy over. Hey, Chef Corey, over at the Grand Hotel Southern Roots, I brought him 25 gallons of Sandy Bay water, his 300 oysters. He's going to marinate them in that water. I don't know what he's going to do. It's going to be crazy.
You mean just water out of the
straight water out of Sandy Bay? He wanted the water that they were grown in, so I brought him 25 gallons. Brought him his oysters, and I don't know if he's going to marinate them back in the water. I don't know what he's got planned, but it's going to be crazy. Hey, talk to Jack Rose out of New Orleans, Chef David. He's doing pasta. He's getting his oysters. He's doing a sauce. He called it something, and forgive me because I can't repronounce all these French words. But what they're going to do, man, it's going to be so special. It's going to be cool, and you're really going to get to come in. And we wanted to make it just a little more intimate. It's not going to be as big as the oyster hangout. Now it's all for charity, and that's one thing that the hangout did do. They come in there and they offered their space for free. They're not charging us.
That's great.
They're not charging us. They're not getting none of the proceeds, none of the ticket money. They're letting us come in, set up, use their place, but it was where everybody knew Oyster Hangout was down here in Alabama. So they thought of the hangout, Oyster Hangout. So it just made sense to kind of be there. But it's going to be really intimate. We're going to do it in their courtyard. It's not going to be the big production than it's been in the past. I think in the past they've shucked like 86,000 oysters. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be very intimate. You're going to come in. You're going to get to talk to the chefs. We're having a VIP tent. PNC come in, heard we was wanting to do something, said, hey, you know what? We would love to get on board with that. Y'all are a local company. Let us sponsor that.
Oh, yeah, PNC Bank.
PNC Bank come in. They're the main corporate sponsor. Of course, Fisher's been with them guys for years. They heard we were doing it and says, hey, man, how can we help? So they're going to host the mixer the night before. Then they're coming in. They've opened the kitchen up. Hey, whatever you need, pots, pans, if somebody needs to come over here and prep, let them come. So, they've been a big part. And it just, everybody kind of come together. Explain to them what it was about, what it was for. I'm not making nothing off this. We don't want to make nothing off of it. We just want to highlight everybody. We want to show everybody what's going on.
And Lane, that's what I noticed when you and I last spoke. And there was some sort of generosity of spirit about you of, hey, let's spread this word. A rising tide raises all ships. It's something you and I said when we were off the air. And it seems that approach to business, to oysters, to the Southwest Alabama seems to have worked well for you. And rather than try to cut anybody out, you're trying to get everybody involved.
Yeah, man. Well, look, in this day and age, you don't need no more unnecessary stress on you, right? So if you see everybody, that's your competition. How fun is that?
Yeah.
How fun is that? That's not very fun.
I'm wondering if these chefs are going to try to be competing with one another. Is there a competition? Is there a winner of anything? Or is it just, hey, let's all throw our best out there?
Well, that got pushed to us like, hey, we always done a competition in the past. And we said, let's maybe next year. But this year, let's just let everybody come hang out. Let it be stress-free. And let's just see what everybody can do. I said, no, it don't always have to, hey, listen, I'm competitive. Hey, I'll beat my mama in checkers today. You know what I'm saying? but hey, sometimes you just got to have fun. Hey, some of my better friends are oyster farmers because, hey, we can share the same struggles, right? They're seeing the same things that I've seen and I'm seeing things that they've seen. And when it's not a competition and you don't feel like you got to beat this guy, man, it just makes it so much funner.
November the 19th. Give me the time, location, how people can find tickets.
November 19th at the Hangout. Go hit our links up. You can get tickets online, murderpointoysters.com. 11:30, we're going to get kicked off. It's going to be a blast. 22 chefs, 10 oyster farmers coming in. If you love oysters, this is the place to be. Hey, they're going to be cooked. They're going to be raw. And that's what's so cool about this. So I'm bringing my farmers in, right? And I'm going to let them sell their oysters. They're going to do it. I'm not participating in it. I'm not taking none of their funds. They can take my ticket and I will redeem the money for it, or they can take the cash themselves. So I'm going to let these guys come in and support themselves because, man, I've been to a lot of events over the years, and sometimes I got gas money. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I got a room. Sometimes I didn't. So my thought was, if I could bring these guys in, let them show off themselves, set it up however you want to set it up, guys. If y'all want to cook y'all's oyster, go ahead. Whatever y'all want to do, let's make this about y'all. Celebrate each individual farmer and say, hey, man, I tell you what, whatever you sell, you can keep.
Yeah.
And that way, if you just bring enough oysters, you keep them.
Folks, wherever you're listening, if you can be at the Hangout on November the 19th, beginning around 11:30, Lane, since you and I were on this show 4 years ago, we're now in 6 markets across the state of Alabama. So there are people listening in North Alabama that may be looking for something to do that weekend. Get in the car, get yourself a room. Come. If you're a foodie, it sounds like a foodie heaven with all these people, all these chefs coming in, creating all this stuff. If you're around, you're looking for something to do, head to the wharf. I know they'd love to have you. So, Lane, is there one particular chef or one particular creation that you know somebody's going to create there that you like, I've had this before and I told him he cannot come unless he brings or he cooks this, something like that, where you're just going to grab a plate of food and disappear for a while?
There is, but I can't tell you, man, because I want all these guys to show up, right? I got to have everybody. And look, I'm telling you the truth, man. It's going to be so good. I think that, what you're going to see here, I think is going to blow your mind. And like I said, we're celebrating these chefs as well because, hey, man, these guys are good. And if you give them a product that's already the best it can be and they can put their spin on it, man, they can do a lot of crazy things. So, man, I tell you what, man, you're going to put me on a spot. And because that's the thing. I'm not paying these guys to come. These guys are coming on their own.
Yeah.
They wanted to part. So they're leaving kitchens on a Friday night. They're leaving kitchens on a Saturday night of very busy restaurants, and they're coming and be a part. And so, I just can't throw that name out there and say, hey, you know what? This is the one you need to try.
We're gonna put a spy on you. We're gonna follow you around and see where you keep going back. You're listening to What's Working. We'll go to break. We'll come back, Lane. I want to hear what's next for Murder Point. Where are you going to go? Is what's next? 600,000 went to 30 million and is now the goal 60 million, 100 million. Am I going to look at Bayou La Batre from outer space and see your oyster reefs down there at some point? It's gotten so big. Let's talk about what's next when we come back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. In the studio, Lane Zirlott. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, Culver House College of Business, University of Alabama.
Is paying a real estate agent worth the money? I'm Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty. Great real estate agents are like the best doctors. They listen deeply, make your goals their own, stay current on trends that impact your decisions, and have experience navigating unexpected situations. We help our clients make the best real estate decisions along the Gulf Coast. Google me, Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection.
Customer service never goes out of style. In fact, I think it's safe to say that customer service is more valuable and more important now more than ever. Hi, this is Cam Marston. One thing that my over 200 episodes of What's Working has taught me is how important customer service is to building and maintaining a thriving business. It's the growing need for customer service that's led me to partner with one of the state's leading customer service trainers to create our program called Delivering 5-Star Customer Service. Your team will get one 90-minute training session per month for 6 consecutive months. Each session builds on the skills learned the previous month, allowing your customer-facing teams to practice before moving on to the next lesson. And the 6 lessons address everything from appearance to electronic communications to conflict resolution to maintaining a service mindset. Our program travels and is delivered in person at your workplace, nothing virtual. You simply can't practice the level of the skills this course teaches virtually. For more information, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's schedule a time to talk. Remember, you have less to fear from outside competition than you do from discourtesy and bad service from inside your own company. Again, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's talk about your business. In the studio, Lane Zirlott sitting across from me. He is the hey guy for Murder Point Oyster Company, meaning, hey guy, I need you to come do this. He does a little bit of it all. It's still a family business, and their growth has been extraordinary, and the charisma that oozes from this guy, folks, I've met him twice now. It's undeniable. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culver House College of Business at the University of Alabama. So, Lane, you've grown. Your oysters are served in some of the finest restaurants across the Southeast. You've got a cult-like following around here in South Alabama. People see the T-shirts and they say, gosh, I love those things. You've done so very well. You would be able to rest on your laurels, I would say. But in knowing you the little that I do, I suspect there's something next. What's next?
I tell you, man, I don't know. There's no telling what's next, and you've got to keep moving, right? You can't just stay the same. You've got to keep evolving. Ultimately, man, you want control of your product. You want control of your product from start to finish. And, that's just who I am. I put so much effort into raise this oyster. I baby it along the way and then just stick it on a truck and wish it well. And, wherever it goes, however it gets treated, just don't sit well with me all the time. I mean, it's a necessary evil in the industry. I got to get them out. I got to get them to the people. And then, maybe I can get them to the people. Maybe I can open up a Murder Point oyster bar somewhere. Maybe that's the next step. Maybe I can just get this stuff directly to the public through me. So, we do have a quite a lot of oysters in the water. How many oysters does it take to sustain an oyster bar? I don't know, but because I am a person that likes to celebrate everybody, I feel like all my friends will send me their oysters to sell at my oyster bar also. So now, I don't have to grow every oyster. Now I can start pulling in other oysters from all over the country, from both coasts, from the Gulf Coast. Maybe we can get a couple out of Canada. I know some guys up there. So, just the world opens up. When you celebrate everybody wants to help. So
where did this philosophy of yours come from, Lane? This is an old man's philosophy. This is a philosophy of someone who is who's on the second half of life and who's no longer in the conquer phase, but the join phase. Is this the way the shrimping industry runs? My impression is it's a cutthroat industry.
Yeah, that's it's pretty cutthroat. And it's not that it's cutthroat. It's just it's business, man. And you're burning this high price fuel. I mean, you got to get yours when it's out there. It's not that you don't want help, because everybody needs help. It's just business. It's not personal. Man, man, you really want to talk about it?
I want to know where this philosophy comes from. We can't talk about it for too long because we're in segment 3 and we got 7 minutes to go. So we I don't want to hear your. I'm not even going to tell you what I don't want to hear. Where does the philosophy come from? Because it's been very fruitful for you.
I think your faith has a lot to do with it. But, 5 years ago, I lost my son. He was 12 years old. A 16-year-old ran over him with a car, stole the car and ran over him. And it changes you.
I'm sorry.
You. No, it's okay. It's okay. You just wanted to get into it. We're going to get into it. And it changes your outlook. And, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I come up under my father. He taught me how to run a boat. I had big plans for this business. And it's almost, at this point, upsetting. And I know that sounds crazy to think that it's because it's successful. I ain't going to lie to you. It's successful. I hate it. Because he's not there to say, okay, because look, man, I'm an old man. You don't want to see me on Instagram. You don't want to see me. You don't want to see me as a face of company. Yeah, man, I've got a little catchphrase. I got a little thing. But man, I should have some young 17-year-old right now being the face of this company, taking this to another level that I can't even think about, that I couldn't even imagine, because you know how it is to be young. You have vision at that age. You can see the world, and you think you can grab the world, and you can at that age. So, but that being said, I've got a 13-year-old daughter. That's coming. She's coming. So right now, I think I just got to maintain. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. And I've got somebody coming that's going to take this. And she might not be able to physically do the work, but man, she's sharp. Her mama is a business banker manager for the Southeast. So she manages all the business bankers for PNC from here to Destin. She's sharp. And so her mama's sharp. My little girl's sharp. And I'm going to maintain until she can come and take this. But, when you lose your son as a man, you understand, hey, I was in the business of making a man, right? I was trying to be an example for a man. I was trying to show a man what to do. And all of a sudden, that was gone. When he got took from me, that was gone. And what was I to do? So I poured myself into this business, right or wrong. I poured myself into this business. But, man, it just makes you stop and look, and you stop and think how really short life is, man. And to be in competition, man, when I can love you, and when I say love you, I don't, you know what I mean? Hey, man, I can tell you everything that's going on with me. Hey, I can tell you where I failed and where I succeeded. Hey, I got a little guy I send seed to every year. I supply his seed because I can do that. And if I could do it for everybody, I would. But life's short, man. Life's short. And, I poured myself into this business, and I'm highly competitive. I am. I get up every morning because I do want to beat you, man, but I believe I can beat you and love you at the same time. It's not personal. Hey, I just want to produce the best oyster. It's not necessarily about beating you. I want to beat me. I want to look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I beat that cat today. And so, there's a lot going on that it's a short time here, right? It's a short time here. I do think we can all, and I don't want to sound kumbaya and say, hey, let's all do it. But, man, it's a short life. And, hey, if we can help each other, how many people eat oysters? Man, I can't even tell you. I used to know the numbers. But I can't grow enough oysters. Hey, but you know what? That pond nowadays ain't but a skip and a jump. I can be in Europe. Because you know who eats oysters? All these French people, and they got the best oyster in the world. They think, because they hadn't had that Murder Point yet, but they hadn't had that blast of salt, that rich, creamy, buttery aftertaste, just like Mama dropped a little bit of butter on it. They haven't had that yet, but you know what? There's 1 billion people in China that hasn't had that butter love either. So, hey, baby, come do it here, because my next step is maybe going across seas. My next step is whatever the world will give me, right? Because, hey, it's a big world. And, man, if you want to beat me up here in Alabama because you want to be the best guy in Alabama, go for it. That's just not who I am. That's not, man. Hey, it's a big world.
Were you ever that guy?
I don't know that I was ever that guy. Like I said, man, to be competitive, I was competitive. Played soccer in high school, played football, I played sports. The shrimping industry, highly competitive. You got to go. You got to push. I was able to flip a switch and leave my family to go work. And technology has come a long ways. I had a cell phone, a satellite phone. I could call home. I had satellite TV. Super nice boats, man. It's just almost like being in your house as far as accommodations and the luxuries. But you still had to leave everybody, and I could do that, and it wasn't a problem. So it wasn't. But I've always helped everybody, right? I wouldn't leave you in a bind. That's just who I am. That's who I am.
I'm sorry about your boy.
Oh, no, I didn't even mean to bring it up. I don't want to bring it up to get that, because that's not what I was after.
But that's a wound that'll never heal. But what it's done.
But I don't want it to heal.
It's made you, exactly.
Right.
It's made you an extraordinarily generous man. Perhaps you were that way before, but now there's a motivation behind it.
Well, you just see things differently than you've ever seen them.
Yeah.
Hey, and who cares, man? Hey, if the southern oyster industry continues to go, and it goes because I helped it, I win. Because you'll always look back and find Murder Point, right? It don't matter if it's 25 years from now, if it's 250 years from now, you're going to find Murder Point.
Tell me your daughter's name.
My daughter's name is Layla.
Layla.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
When you come back, I want an update on Layla. Layla, if you're listening, I'm a big fan of your daddy's, and I think everybody listening today has become even a greater big fan of your daddy's. He's a good guy, and we're eager to see you, Layla, if that's what you want, step into this fantastic role. Lane, thank you, my friend.
Hey, no problem, no problem. I got to do it one time before I leave. Hey, Murder Point, butter love, baby.
November the 19th, The Wharf, beginning at 11:30. You can find tickets at this, we're calling it the Experience the Oyster event.
Experience the Oyster.
And you can find tickets at murderpoint.com. Is that correct?
That's it, Bo.
You're going to have an extraordinary experience if you get these tickets. If you're a foodie, this is something you can't miss. If you're an oyster lover, this is something you can't miss. And I think you're going to experience something. And perhaps you'll find him. You're going to want to shake this man's hand. You'll find him around the site. He'll be the most charismatic and gregarious guy you'll ever find. Lane, what's your job going to be the day of November the 19th?
So I'm probably going to be running around doing everything. I've got my sister involved in this, so she's kind of coordinated the events. So she's done an excellent job. I'm going to be in the VIP tent. We're shucking murder points in the VIP tent. I'm going to talk to the crowd there. I'm going to give them a oyster shucking demonstration. Later on during the festival, I'll get on stage and address the crowd, talk to them, just tell them thank you, thank my farmers, thank my chefs, thank my sponsors. So I'll be around. I'll be moving around. I might be carrying a trash can. There's no telling, but I'll be there.
I have no question that you'll do whatever's necessary. Lane Zirlott's in front of me, folks. It was one of the most engaging interviews I had 3 or 4 years ago as this show was just getting started. And I will say yet again, another one. Thank you so much for your time, Lane.
Hey, no problem. Thank you. Because listen, this is how you get the word out, right? I can't do it by myself. It takes guys like you. It takes the waiters and the chefs. It takes everybody to make this, and everybody has a part in it. So, hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for letting me come. Because, the first time it was an accident that we even connected. You do know that, right?
Tell me that story again.
So the first time you was to interview Bill Walton from Auburn Shellfish Lab.
Yes, that's right.
He called me and said, hey, would you like to be on it? He later called me back and said, look, man, I'm out. If you want to be out, it's okay. I just got an appointment come up. I got to get out of it. And I said, nah, man, I'll do it. It's no problem. I'll do it. I like to talk, so I'll do it. And so, yeah, man, it almost didn't happen.
I remember that now that you say it. Yeah, one of the most fortuitous things that's happened to me in a long while. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. We'll come back after this break for segment 5. Recap, talk to you about upcoming shows, things like that. Lane Zirlott, Murder Point Oysters. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culverhouse College of Business at the University of Alabama. And as we wrap up, there is a Yeti cooler with 100 oysters in here that I've asked Lane to bring so that I could buy them from him and begin on them this weekend. Thank you for that, Lane.
No problem.
We'll be right back. Person Services Corp is a diverse specialty contractor that's changing how people think about general contractors. Person Services Corp has experts in industrial and general construction, disaster recovery, infrastructure, and mechanical. They offer the latest in industry technology, turnkey project management services, and custom project solutions. Person Services Corp has 5 offices across the Southeast to meet you anywhere your project demands. Find them at personsservices.com. I'd like you to meet my new sponsor, Get the Tea. They carry all natural, non-GMO, organic herbal cleansing teas and supplements. They source their ingredients from the purest available. Your health is an investment that's worthwhile, so why wait? I drink their tea each and every day to help keep my digestive system in check. I'm drinking a glass as I record this right now. It comes in 3 flavors, natural, peppermint, and pomegranate. I'm drinking the peppermint. All of their products are made right here in the USA. Go to getthetea.com and enter code CAM5, that's CAM5, to receive $5 off your first order. That's getthetea.com, code CAM5. Hard to know where to begin. Let's begin with the way I need to begin. We're back. This is What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed in the Culverhouse College of Business at the University of Alabama. They are the presenting sponsor, and I'm deeply grateful for the support that they give me and the confidence they give me. And every now and then, I interact with somebody through this show who gives me an insight into something that I don't know that I would have gotten otherwise, that shows me something that's really important. My goal is to never get anybody to divulge. This is not a gotcha show. But in hearing people's stories about their struggles and about why they do what they do, every now and then you get you get a peek into their soul. And I can't tell you how moving that is. So let's touch what's remarkable about Lane and his family and what the Zirlotts have done with Murder Point Oyster Company. When I first met Lane, he had 600,000 oysters in the water. And I went, oh my goodness, Lane, that's a lot of oysters. Little did I know that 4 years later, he'd have 30 million oysters in the water. And that a small fraction of the oysters that he sell are to people like me who go down to Bayou La Batre and pick up 100 because we're having family over, we're having a cookout, or going to watch a football game and go eat 100 oysters. I would figure that would have been the bulk of the oysters. It's a drop in the bucket. And I have to think that the extraordinary growth that Lane and his family and his company have experienced is due a lot to his attitude of support and generosity and helping one another. There's no doubt that a tragedy in someone's life gives them a new perspective on the way the world looks and the way it should look, and they become engaged in that. And Lane has done that. And it's an overwhelming story. I don't know if the feeling that I got in the studio when Lane told me what happened to his son, a tragic, tragic tale, I don't know if you felt it, but my eyes watered, my voice choked up, and I could see that this man was now being moved by something much greater than I think he ever could have predicted himself. And it was a snapshot into so much of what's important. There are people out there trying to change the world, and they do it one person at a time through generosity and eye contact and spirit and charisma, and that's what Lane does. There are people out there trying to protect the world from change. They usually run for office. I'll take Lane any day. Any day. Lane, I hardly know you, my man. I consider you a lifelong friend, and I am a great advocate and supporter of yours. Thank you so much for your time today. And those oysters that I will begin eating during the football game on Saturday will taste so much better knowing a little bit more of the story behind it. Again, thank you so much. It's time to do a little bit of self-promotion and talk about what's upcoming. I think we may have gotten my shows a little bit out of sorts. It's just my fault. But we got a lot of the graduates from the universities in the state of Alabama leave, and we need them here. So the next show, we'll talk about how to keep them here. It's the show that's in collaboration with Business Alabama. I was introduced to a guy that's doing a lot of work to try to keep the graduates. He's working in the Department of Higher Education for the state of Alabama. And we're going to talk about his plans and his strategies for, first, getting the ones that are here and graduating to stay here, and second, getting the graduates that have left Alabama to come back, how we do that. And I think you'll be surprised at the strategy that they're using. It's fairly sophisticated and fairly impressive. I hope you'll go to the website, cammarston.com, and give me feedback when you can. You can get a free copy of the book by signing up to the email list on that site. And reach out to me at any point, cam@cammarston.com. Let me know what you think. Give me your show ideas. Find me on social media, all that. What's Working is produced by John Thompson at Ion Digital. Have a good week, everybody.